Welcome. Hi, this is Carol from Skill Check, and we're going to be talking today about helping our seniors move. And I have a specialist in this, Karen Bodoano, and she's a longtime friend. Karen, how long have we known each other? Since when? It's
Oh, we were four, so 30 years better.
when we were four. We started playing with storage
30,
blocks
35 years probably, right? Yeah,
a long time,
long
right?
time.
And you managed a lot of stores in Canada, right? How many
I
total?
did, yes. Well, at our peak, we were at 32, but
32.
when the company was sold, I had 25
Yeah.
locations. So, yeah.
Still, I love the fact when I did work with you, I love the fact that you were so caring of the customer. And I think
Thank
your
you.
customer policies were good. You really thought about how your employees were treating customers, and you staffed well. There were so many things that you all did, and I love just even when we went to the ball game. Do you remember that? And we did some horse racing stuff and when I was there, and just involving your team in what you do. And I think it spills over to the customers too, doesn't it? When you treat your team well, then your
Oh,
customers feel
absolutely.
the same way. And I think that that's what we're going to be talking about today about helping seniors move. If your employees know that seniors take a little bit more time, sometimes they may take a little bit more care, or you may say, you know what, if you realize that they need extra help, you may not put them on the third floor. You might just say, okay, I've
Exactly.
got something actually that might be a little more convenient for you on the lower. So there's lots of things that we can do, but let's talk about some of those things, right? So let's go and think about what we can do for our seniors to help them move, because I know that not only is what you did before, but you're doing now. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing now with helping seniors?
Sure. I left Sentinel when it was sold in September, I guess it was July of 17. So the company was this great little local privately held company. We had a great culture. We had an excellent boss who really, really instilled with all of us, that the customer really was number one and that our role, all of us, was to help serve them. And so when the company was sold, I knew things were going to change. The dynamics were going to be a lot better when you're part of a really big organization. So I realized that there was a need for seniors to have help with moving, navigating it, because we'd seen them time and time again be taken advantage of. So
Hmm.
I became what's known as a senior move manager. And I now am an expert in helping seniors move, downsize and move. So it's kind of fun to take my storage and moving background and redeploy it to really being right now in the households, helping them with their moves. So
Right.
very cool.
So I like this. I love this is a picture of you, right? Doing a walkthrough,
Yes, I
right?
think it was 5. Yeah.
That looks like an 80s hairs and pants and
Oh, 80s hair. Yeah, the perm
yeah.
hair. Yeah, absolutely. Doing the
I
old
have that
school
too.
audit. Yeah.
But it's,
In
that
Winnipeg, going to
we
Winnipeg.
never get away from all of that stuff, do we? When, it's good to know though,
No, no.
what we do and where we've come from and where we're going to. But I do like the fact that you're helping seniors now, but you've had that storage experience, because sometimes they are not aware of how they can use storage very easily, right? So I think that
Absolutely. Yeah.
what you're talking about, and how to make the move easier for seniors. So what are some of the things that they're struggling with and you're doing?
Well, definitely, I've dealt with some clients that have been in their homes 50, 60 years. I had one cute couple, they were almost 90, and he had built the house when he proposed to her. They moved in
Oh,
after their honeymoon and had never moved. So that is a very common situation where they don't know what they don't know. Like they never moved. They've lived in the same house for a very long time
yeah.
and have a whole lot of stuff around them and have no point of reference. They've never hired a mover. They've never used a storage unit because they've had ample space at home. They really are very vulnerable to
Hmm.
people who could be, scam artists who
Right.
recognize that they don't really know what's going on. And so I've seen that they definitely need help, some help with just working through that to get with
And
them.
that would
So
mean they're moving companies too, because we do hear, like with moving companies, that some of them, how one person will pay 1,000 and some will pay 3,000 for the same job because it's an elderly person and they knew they could take advantage of them.
Yes, and I'm sure you've seen it in the storage industry. I mean, we stand back and watch all of this on the
Mm,
sidelines, but they're motivated by the lowest price, and they
right.
get their three prices, their three quotes or their estimates, and they're, oh, we'll go with the lower one because, they're thrifty. And then the next thing you know it, the truck is loaded with their stuff and the mover's standing there saying, oh no, it's double, it's triple,
Oh,
and we're not unloading until you pay us. And I
right.
mean, we stood by helplessly in the storage industry and watched that all the time.
Yes.
So breaks your heart.
Yeah.
And then these guys are gone with the wind, they disappear, they change the name of their company, and there's no way to, I guess, really stop them. So they're very good at what they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking advantage of people.
Yes. My mom turns today's her birthday. She's
Oh,
94.
well,
And
wow.
it's interesting because I had purchased a house for her and we needed to move her out. She fell and she broke her hip and she broke her arm also. So we needed to move her a place where, she was around more seniors and could get help, and it was really like a super nice apartment place, right? Or maybe a hotel,
Mhm.
like a combination of a hotel, and
Yeah,
because they had food and little like a Starbucks there. They had all kinds of neat stuff for the seniors. But when I was trying to get her to go from the house to that like a 1 bedroom thing she it was that was so stressful, Karen. I mean, my mom cried about stuff like that we were getting rid of. And then finally,
yeah.
I had it like an 11-yard dumpster brought out, and we filled it full of school stuff because she was a teacher. And some of it was like
Mhm.
the old mimeographed things that she had just kept over the years. And just, I, I don't know. I felt bad about it, but it was like, Mom, there, and my sister and I and all our relatives were over there throwing stuff away because we didn't know what else to do with some of the stuff. And some things we
For
gave
sure.
to schools. We found a few things to give to schools, but still, it was really heartbreaking for my mom. She goes, "Where's all my stuff?" When she got out of the hospital.
Hmm.
Yeah, we threw a lot of that away. That's a big deal,
It
isn't it?
happened. It
But when
is,
you
absolutely.
look at the statistics of aging, people are getting older, right? Or even the baby boomers like me. I'm in very
Yeah.
for sure. My sister and I are both in the boomer area. My son keeps calling me a boomer. I'm like, okay, all right. I'm a boomer. Every time I can't use my phone or fix my phone, then he's like, oh, you're such a boomer.
Become a boomer.
But when you think about how the population's aging and we're, the medicine and everything's keeping us alive, that's kind of positive, right? I mean, but again, with so many people aging, it's tough. So how
It
do you
is.
manage
So
it? Go ahead.
just to go back to that slide, if you don't mind,
Sorry.
Carol, I mean, there's some really interesting statistics that the boomers are aging. We're all staying, we're living longer because of really great health care and good,
Yeah.
health habits. But in Canada, 1,000 people are turning 65 each and every day until 2035. So there's
Wow.
this huge tennis ball going through the snake, if you will, or the boa constrictor of people coming down the pipe. And in Canada, 20 years, in 20 years, 68% of our population is going to be 65 and older. So this is
Wow.
definitely where, as business people, we have to be looking at positioning ourselves. And certainly the self-storage industry should be considering it, as well as, what I do in my services. I see lots of growth in what I'm doing because there's people that need help. In the US, 10,000 people each and every day turning 65 and older. So yeah, that baby boomer, and I would consider myself at the tail end of the boomers for sure.
Yeah, me too.
We're coming along,
Yeah.
and our parents are still here too. So you've kind of got two major, quite large, generations
Mm-hmm.
that are all out there, and a lot more affluent than probably ever before too.
Right.
So they have bigger homes, they have nice things, they want to live in nice places that are like fancy hotels with, Starbucks, that if they're going to transition and downsize, that's where they see themselves heading. So, and that's where my services come in, is to help them get from that big house, with dumpsters full of stuff that have to be gone through, to something that's a lot more manageable and still so efficient, and very nice, place to live. So,
Yeah. I have to tell you
yes. So,
something funny because when I was downsizing and I sold this house and I moved to a smaller house, and so we had all this stuff kind of left over, and it's some of it's still in the garage, frankly. And then we had looked at one house, and but I didn't have a place to. I've got a baby grand piano, and so there was
Mhm.
no place to put it. So my daughter's like, listen, we love this other house, but it doesn't have place for the piano, so we'll put it in storage. And I'm like, oh no, we'll never get it out. It will never come back out. And she said,
True.
Mom,
Yeah.
let's just put it there and then we'll make room for it. I said, no, we'll never make room for it. The piano will stay in there the rest of the time. And for no. So I was adamant. We had to have the bigger house to put my piano in. So it's just one of those things,
Hmm.
where you're sitting there and saying, wow, I do have to scale down. I mean, even now I'm saying, okay, I don't need this big of a house, and I need to get rid of some things, but it's hard. It is hard to do that.
Very hard. Totally. Yeah, I kind of see myself as a counselor for stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw it at the storage side. We are counseling them how to help with their stuff, but now I'm really like hands-on with that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's kind of what you're doing now is just with this senior move management. How do you make that happen? Like for seniors, what is the process of whatever to do that?
Well, I do a lot of speaking to senior groups, so I always say I have two types of moves. I have proactive moves and I have reactive moves. Now, a reactive move sounds a little bit about what your mom went through, where
Yep.
there's been a health, a big health, situation, and she can't live in her home anymore. So that's reactive. It's, you're not able to go home. You can't maneuver in that environment anymore. You have to make a move. But what I try to educate seniors about is to be proactive. I mean, this
Mhm.
is their choice, and I'd rather work with them when they're still, able to make all their own decisions and they want to make their own decisions. They want to decide what to do with their things and where they're going to move and what that looks like. So,
Right.
generally I get calls a lot from the senior home communities, that lovely residence where your mom is now
Mhm.
probably
Mhm.
has an amazing sales team of people that are
Oh, they
helping,
do.
people, educate and learn about what they can provide. So those I'm aligned very closely with, and they'll give out my name and because people will just see deer in the headlights, we're going to move. We don't even know where to start. We want to move, but we're so overwhelmed. So they'll
Right.
say, but we have a lady, we have a company that can help you with that. So they're
Mhm.
wonderful about giving up my name.
Oh,
Realtors
that's
as
neat.
well. I get
Yes.
referrals from realtors. And
Mhm.
certainly some of my friends in the self-storage industry see families and parents, navigating moving, and they also give up my name and say, hey, do you know there's someone that can help you with this? So it's
Yeah,
wonderful.
that's
Very new
good.
in Canada. It's been around a lot longer in the US. So I
And
guess I
that's an
should have done more
organization too that
research.
you all have in
It
Canada.
is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's wonderful.
And it's
So
got
when I
US numbers,
started,
right?
absolutely, it
Yeah.
started in the US and
Yeah.
actually Arlington, Virginia. So, when I started, I just saw myself as a wedding planner for moving. I really didn't know there was actually, it was a thing. I said, I didn't know it was a thing. It's actually an industry that's been around for 15 years and
Wow.
started in the US with ladies that were primarily professional organizers and had
Mhm.
seen that they were doing a lot of work with seniors and helping them move. So they started NASSIM, and it's a wonderful organization, very established in the United States. We
Oh, good.
certainly have some members in Canada, not as many, and really members throughout the world, but really a very much an American-driven organization. And when I went to the first conference, it was like you find your tribe. It was like the old
Yeah.
days of the self-storage industry, where it was still the Wild West, and
Yep.
everybody was figuring it out as you went, right? But really
Yeah.
passionate about what they did, and that's what NASSIM is. So they really help us really figure out how to do our business as well. A
Right.
lot of people come to this organization with really no background in business too. So they try to give them some tips on how to do that, the structure you need to have and the
Mhm.
contract and so on. So, and very entrepreneurial bunch, just like us self-storage people.
Right.
We were always trying to find, ways to add ancillary services in the early days, right?
Nice.
And they're very much the same way, like maybe some people have their own moving trucks. A few people I know have their own consignment stores that they add on with their senior move management company. So really, really interesting. So
I would love, I mean, you know how we used to have little boards where we put movers up on there? That would be a great thing to
yes,
do is have, people locally that do this, the organizing and how to downsize and help with the relocation of people. Man, I know my family member who's the realtor, she got in there and helped me a lot. She made it a lot
Mhm.
easier, but she did some of the functions that you're just talking about. She was like, well, let's do this and find this. And I've got, people that'll come out and get this from you and that from you. And we had a list of people that were going to come by and just pick up things that we were gifting to them.
Donating.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I
Yeah,
told
I
my
always say
mom
that
we
there's
gifted
really
it.
5 things. Yeah, some of it went, yeah, I know. Some goes in the bin. Yeah, I get it.
Yes. Yes.
I always tell people when I meet with them, there's 5 things that we do with stuff. We either keep it and we move it with them. We give it to our family or our friends, which, now there's a good time for people to have the grandkids come in and take away things that they might love that they always
Hmm.
would like to have in their home or the kids will love. And then there's selling things, which is there's still a market for selling some used stuff. And then there's
Right.
donation. So many really good, worthy organizations. And then there's that final one we talked about, which is disposal. So, and every house has it. It doesn't
Yes.
matter how big or small your home is. There's always something that's going to have to be trashed. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, because
So
some
that's sort of
people
how I
don't
help them
want,
navigate.
yeah, certain things being purchased. I even one of because my daughter takes voice lessons. So she had the lady that teaches her voice. She has all kinds of plays that she does. So my mom had closets, and it looked like a 70s closet, an 80s closet, and like you'd look at the. I'm thinking, huh, wow, look at all that denim and the bottoms, and I was just like, what the heck? And then when
Yeah.
I was and what the and was so weird to me, it was kind of organized. I can tell my sister had probably helped her do some stuff, but to keep those clothes organized. But my mom had not been in those pants for probably 30 years. So I gave a bunch of those to this lady because I thought this would be great for any kind of production they're
Costume.
putting on. Because I bet they're hard to
Absolutely.
find, right? Some of this stuff.
They are. Yeah,
Yeah.
one of my within my network, I've met a lady who sells vintage clothing here in Edmonton. She has a
Oh
very
yeah.
funky store, and
Yeah.
she's very well known within the actually the TV and theater production people, even as far as Vancouver, who will reach out to her and say, okay, well, we need this theme of clothing, and would you happen to have? And yeah, it's very fun. She
Yeah.
buys a lot of stuff actually, and moves a lot of stuff within her stores. So
So
that's
we
so much
also,
better than going in landfill. So,
yes. Well, I took some pictures of some of the furniture that my mom had, and then I put it on this site, and real quickly we had several people asking about it because it was my grandmother's. So I remember it being in my grandmother's. It was a buffet, and it had some old dishes in it. It was beautiful, and it was in good condition. And so I think I probably sold 20 pieces uh,
mhm.
from that website. So it really worked.
It
Yeah.
takes a little work to manage. So, yeah, that's one of my ancillary services is helping people sell things right from the home because
Right from
any
the
sort of advertising of items, you have to manage each set of buyers that come forward. And not a lot of them are very serious or legitimate. And so it takes a lot of work
home.
to navigate that. So, anyway,
Yeah.
our
I,
houses are full of stuff. And it is
I,
nice that they don't, get thrown all away. So, yeah.
yeah. That's what I think, is what for me and my sister for sure is just dealing with so much stuff and then getting down to from the big stuff to the granular. And the
Mhm.
granular, we were going through stuff like, okay, in fact, I have a few things still. I have one of my dad's old, he passed away years ago, but I have a all cufflinks. He loved to wear like really nice clothes, and he always had a pair of nice cufflinks, beautiful cufflinks. And I'm not even sure what to do with them now. I still have them here, and I'm thinking that somebody must want to buy those cufflinks because some of them are old and some of them are unique because we live in the Southwest now, and he's got lots with turquoise on it and things like that. But it's so cool that some of the stuff we did find, and I know my sister took a few things too. She's like, oh my gosh, I said I'll take this one if you don't mind. And just like an old uh, little bank that you put money in, and it looks like a little slot machine. I think I have that up here somewhere behind me. But it's things
That's
that
a,
you think I remember as a kid that I wanted to keep, but you also have to dispose of that the stuff, whatever that
yes.
stuff is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
I
mean,
don't have
sometimes
anyone
it did
else
go
to
into
move, so I
storage, right?
don't take on anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes my
And
daughter
you
will
know what I
say,
did?
well, people leave stuff out in the hallway. I'm like, oh yes. They think you could leave something out there and everybody will want to take it or whatever. You can't tell whether they left it and forgot it or they purposely thought, oh well, somebody will want this crock
So
pot or
true.
whatever.
Absolutely. But I
Crock
do
pot.
believe that it helps the seniors with their transition to know that a few items are being taken by family and friends and are going to be
Right.
used, or somebody's going to, it's going to go to a worthy cause where people need, towels. We
Yeah.
donate a lot of towels to vet clinics. And I know you're a huge animal lover as I am, and
Yep.
that's just such a feel good. And it's good for the senior because they don't want to hear that, oh, everything you own in here is just, not worth anything and you shouldn't bother. And
Right.
yeah, it helps with the transition when you're making that big move, right?
Yeah.
So,
Dealing with all of that stuff, right?
and certainly, I mean, that's where self-storage comes in because when I first started this, the self-storage or the senior move managers were, they quite thought quite negatively actually of self-storage. They thought,
Really? Yeah.
those are, wastelands where people waste their money and they're just the place where things go and, are never looked at. And I mean, sometimes that happens in our industry, but
Right.
we also do a lot of really great work. And
Right.
I know that the two businesses work in conjunction because I have my self-storage experience in my toolbox.
Right.
And every so often I can pull it out and I'm happy to offer that as a solution to families and to my clients because sometimes we really need to do that and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that we have to qualify before we go down that path, but why not, right? So
Right.
I actually presented at NASSIM. I was pretty excited to do that. Right before COVID, I was in Houston and I was able to do an hour-long presentation to the senior move managers about self-storage, saying,
Mhm.
you should align yourself with your local
Right.
self-storage company because we're all in the same business. We're in the business of moving and we're in the business of stuff.
Mhm.
So introduce yourself. There's lots of different synergies between the two businesses. And,
Yes.
certainly why, even today, a senior move manager buys a lot of packing material because we do help people pack up, move and
Right.
unpack. So there's a potential for the storage operator. I rented a storage unit for my business. I was trying to manage within our double garage, but when you have a lot of boxes, a lot of materials coming and
Yes.
going, it was a disaster. So finally, I was like, no, I really need my own self-storage unit. So I have one. Move Coordinators has one. I'm happy to have it. It's a great solution for what I need to do. I have a lot of boxes I need to manage, and it's great to know that they're there when, especially when I get slammed with a lot of work. Certainly, my clients use storage. Some storage or or senior move managers actually will rent U-Hauls and rental trucks or trailers and such to
Mhm.
manage their business. So they're also out there doing that type of work. And we're all a small business, local small business. So
Mhm.
sometimes we might need an office or a mailbox or a place, a UPS drop off. I know some self storages add that as part of an ancillary service to what they do. So we're in the same business of stuff.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I think all of this, especially when you're talking about, making the move easier. And during COVID, I had an opportunity to help a call center and work with a call center, and you wouldn't. I was so shocked about the number of people that were calling saying, mom sick with COVID, dad passed away with COVID. Now we're trying to deal with their whole home. What's
mhm,
your largest size unit you have? Because the
mhm,
kids didn't know what to do. I mean, first
mhm.
they're dealing with one person sick, another person passed away, and then they've got all of this house thing to deal with. And it is overwhelming at times, isn't it? And to have a storage company
Absolutely.
say, okay, listen, we can help you. I mean, I would love to say, why not have, remember how we have the boards or have cards up there of people who do things, with movers or people that we think are good at what they do. And why not add these professional people who help pack and help seniors do things? Because it really will make a difference. Makes it just a
Absolutely.
little easier knowing that you're going to find someone that actually knows this person who does this. I think it'd be
Yes.
good for
I,
everyone,
I
right?
I was getting the same type of calls. And with COVID, often my calls would involve a child or a family member that wasn't here in Edmonton. And now
Yes.
they're really panicked. They're stuck in Toronto, or
Yes.
they're stuck in Vancouver, or they're stuck, somewhere in the United States. I had a number of few American children phoning and saying, we need help.
Yeah.
Mom has gone to the next level of care, because that's part of life too, is that
Yes.
COVID didn't stop, that people are still
Right.
aging, and they're having to go to another level of care, and now their housing needs a change. So, or passed away. So I had some estate clear out work during that time, and certainly some downsizing work where, and panicked children on the other end of the phone saying,
Mhm.
oh my God, you need to help, and here's what I'd like you to do on my behalf. So
Right.
it was really powerful.
It is
So
powerful. And I think, when we have, again, things that are accessible, making it easy for customers to get into self-storage, and I don't know, the whole idea of everything I always look at whether I'm building self-storage or whatever it is, I'm always thinking of what's going to make it easy to get the stuff in and out for everyone. Not just movers, because someone said the other day, I was listening to a call online, or I was online with a call center agent, and the lady's like, you said that this one's upstairs. I never liked the upstairs. When you have an elevator, why would you say upstairs, second level or whatever? I like that better
true.
than the lady's like, do I have to take it up the stairs? I've got a couch and some other
Uh,
big things, and now I'm gonna have to take it upstairs. And she goes, no, we have a large freight elevator. I was just saying it's up on it's upstairs on the second floor or whatever. I'm like, don't use the word stairs, because that makes people think that they're
yeah,
literally gonna have to lug that couch upstairs, which there are some
yeah.
properties that you have those.
And one of the things that I've become passionate about, instead of using the wording downsizing, which is so negative, you think of downsizing, someone's losing their job, a
Right.
business is, having to
True.
reduce staff,
Very true.
or you're giving up something, right? So I
Yeah.
tell people we don't downsize, we right size.
Right size. Yeah.
So
That really makes
that's where
sense.
it's at.
Yeah.
It's a new chapter in people's lives, and chapters are scary, but you have to evolve and move there. And wouldn't life be boring if we stayed in the same chapter forever? So
Right.
now we're just right sizing for that next chapter, right?
That's true.
So, and storage can be part of that. So some of that estate work, when I had panicked children in different parts of the world, and certainly within Canada, but all over, is I had that as a solution. And one nice thing we could do is we could kind of purge it a bit. If they said, you know what, we don't want that table and chair set, give that to charity, or you know what, that mattress is so done, let's dispose of that. So when things came into storage, it wasn't just one big ugh of a lot of stuff in storage where the client was spending a ton of money to store, let's say, a whole full household. Now we
Right.
could take what they really wanted to keep,
Wanted.
and we
Yes.
had edited what they were going to actually keep and want and use, right? So
Mhm.
again, a professional senior move manager can navigate that for clients,
Yes.
and
And
make that storage experience even better, right?
yeah, and even putting the
So
things near the front that you might need or access more often, because and you put
exactly.
some of the bigger things you're not using in the back. I mean, those kind of things, tips and are good to be able to give people to be able to. I mean, I do that at just regular storage, but if you've got seniors that are thinking like, oh yeah, if you need it often, you better not put it near the back.
Right.
Somebody
Or let's
asked,
say different family members are picking up different items. They could be labeled and sorted accordingly, or
yes,
even arrange for shipping or moving of things. So I had a client that needed to have some things sent down to Calgary to a family member, not the whole amount of the estate, but a few items. So a senior move manager can organize that as well. My movers are wonderful, but what they do is they load, they move, they unload. They really don't offer either side of that soft services, if you will, soft skills of
yeah,
really sorting and working with the stuff. So it's a efficient move, a good move, right? So yeah, clients definitely use self-storage. Actually, some of my clients use storage.
yeah,
I had one gentleman, he's wonderful. He's a retired professor. He's had a comic collection since he was a child. He's 87. He has so many comic books. And I mean, he wasn't willing to part with them. And when him and his wife moved into a 2-bedroom apartment style senior residence, it was a no-go. She didn't want the comic books underfoot. So we got him a storage unit,
right,
and it was perfect. Just the right size, and his books are all there, and it's climate controlled, and it's, in a very convenient place from the elevator for him to walk to if he wants to go visit his comic books. So we certainly have conversations about using self-storage, because, if my clients are working with walkers and wheelchairs and they have some real mobility issues, It may not
Right.
be an option for them particularly, but their children it might be. So, it's something, and I would never offer it to somebody who couldn't afford it. I guess that's another thing. It's just the ethics of it.
Right.
If I know they're
Exactly.
struggling to pay rent, then I'm not going to offer storage. I'm going to try to help other solutions. So, they don't
Yeah.
have, maybe they really do need to let go of stuff. It's not so much anymore a want, it's a need that the things have to
Right.
go, right? So,
Yeah.
you navigate that with them.
Right.
So,
One of the other things that I was going to tell you about, one of my friends in Australia, Liz Davies, she owns several storage properties. And so she wrote a book on how to organize your stuff. And she even like has in her showroom, she has boxes that are different colors. Like there's one that's red, yellow, pink, she's got different colors. And the idea is when you're packing yourself up, put the things in whichever box correlates with what what's going to happen to it, right? So if it's red,
right.
you're going to need to access that stuff right away. So that would go at the front of the space, or during your move, it would maybe go somewhere different than storage, or whatever. But it was
Mhm.
fascinating to me, and she wrote a really great book on this. And I don't know the name of it right now. I can't remember, but I find it interesting that we are looking at how to make storage easier for people, and I think to me, even like I'm really good about marking on boxes, but I thought, wait, it would be way easier if I thought, okay, wait a minute, all this stuff is going to be in the red box because it needs to go. That needs to be near the whatever side of the truck or whatever. But it's so valuable to try to use ways to organize yourself also during your move, which is a lot of what you all are doing too, right? Helping them organize the seniors.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because marking boxes, as we know, it can be a disaster if it's
Oh
not
yeah.
well packed and organized in the beginning. Then we've seen them in their storage units where they're rifling through and the paper's flying and they're swearing
Yes.
because they can't find what they very probably quickly packed and hadn't put a lot of thought into. Or they have broken items because things were packed poorly. You don't
Right.
put in your books and your crystal and your laptop in the same 4 cube box, right?
Right.
So there has to be a bit of thought put into it. So,
Well, and I also think all those things we should be selling in storage, because even though you think, and I know sometimes I see like the paper out there because I wanted some paper to wrap up my dishes, and I go to the storage place and they have one out there like as a display, but they have none left. I'm like, well, can I buy that? And they're like, oh no, that's a display. But if you don't have any, then why are you displaying it? And you're not going to get rid of your display. You need to
or
order another. Well, they don't go very often. I think they don't go often because people are not explaining to them. If you're packing up this stuff, it makes it much easier, and you won't break things if you pack it correctly. And I
exactly right.
always get storage boxes because some people get them from behind stores and things like that, but then they're all different sizes. But when you look at a
Mhm.
storage property and we get ready to auction, you think, wow, they did not utilize the space. Sometimes they don't go up very high, and they use so many weird sizes of boxes, it doesn't stack and
Yeah,
pack well. But
absolutely.
if you watch people that are really good at packing and stacking and doing all of this stuff, like professional movers, boy, they just pack those trucks in, ceiling to the
Mm,
bottom, because if they're going to make a move, it's going to be as efficient as possible. And sometimes they'll
absolutely.
put multiple people in one truck, right? But I
Oh,
just
they
think
can.
we need to help people do that.
I thought with 29 years of storage experience, I knew a little bit about that, but I've
Yeah.
been schooled so much in the last 4 years. I've learned so much about the boxes we sold because
Yes,
now I'm on the other side of it.
right.
And absolutely, my movers want things that are very well packed in good quality
Yes.
boxes that can hold some weight so they can stack that truck
On
efficiently.
top of each, yes.
The liquor store boxes, they just don't
Oh,
cut it. They're too
no, they
small for a
don't.
lot of things and they're the wrong size. And, we've seen it all the time. But now that I've lived it and breathed it and experienced it, it's so
Yeah.
important. And
Well,
having the
and
good quality packing,
you know
right?
what I see a lot of now is people using like the Amazon boxes, but the Amazon boxes, a lot of them are designed for whatever they're shipping. It's to
Exactly.
size, and it's
Yeah.
not for packing and stacking and self-storage. It
Right.
just doesn't work the
Exactly.
same way. That's why those
Mm.
boxes that are consistent sizes really makes a huge difference.
They really do. and it's worth the money. You know, I always say to people that you've paid a lot of money for your stuff. Why would you stop
Right.
now for, you
Yes.
know, shortchanging yourself on having a bad experience with your move because you use the wrong boxes, use the wrong
Right.
mover, you know, all these things that can so affect the experience. And it doesn't have to. You know, for the extra few $100s it might
Right.
cost, now they're going to have a good experience. Their stuff will arrive and the way it should.
Yeah.
So senior move managers are absolutely a resource for the self-storage industry. You know, people are downsizing.
Right.
Sometimes they're even downsizing within the self-storage store, right? So you hear
Right.
people say, you know, I really want to get from a 10 by 20 down to a 10 by 10. And, you know I've got to sort through it. And what are your, you know, what are your policies on allowing me to transfer within the property?
Right.
And how much time do I have? And all those things. I mean, that was part of our self-storage world. I'm sure we had anywhere from 1 to 5 transfers within a property within a month. I
Yes.
don't know what your, you know,
Right.
history
Yes.
was
About
with your
that.
stores, but
Absolutely.
that was kind of typical that people were moving within the property, up or
Yeah.
down. You know, it happens
You
both
know,
ways, right?
it's interesting that you say that because I've had some managers along the way that they've said, "Oh, we don't want people to downsize." I'm like, "No, no, no. We make more money per square foot with the smaller
Right?
spaces. We absolutely want them to downsize, and we have smaller where we have less of the big spaces and more smaller spaces generally at a storage property. So
Yeah.
we need
Yeah.
them to get in the smallest space possible." And I think customers sometimes think it too. Oh, you want me in the most expensive one? Well, no, we actually would
Right.
rather you be in the most efficient one for your what you
Yes.
have. But it is huge
Hmm.
for us to try to get people in the right size, and they'll stay longer, right? They're going to stay longer
Absolutely.
if they're in a something that they can afford. And then if it's
Hmm.
packed well and stacked well, it's going to save them lots of money.
Absolutely. I mean, it's about what the client or the customer needs.
Yes.
It's, you know, and if we serve them well, they see that and they're like, you know what, you
Yes.
guys are nice folks. You help
Right.
me, you know, try to figure out, because we've seen people that's further down in my slides, but we also see people that are having some real economic challenges.
Yeah.
And, you know, they unfortunately, maybe they lost their job or something's happening. COVID hasn't been kind to many people.
Yeah.
And, you know, a good ethical self-storage operator is going to try to help them navigate that when they're having some financial difficulty. And
Right.
maybe a downsize is what that looks like. So it's
Yes. And that
affordable
might
for
be.
them,
Right.
right? And that
Well, and
goes
we've
right into
also
here,
kind of,
health, financial crisis, you know.
right.
So
Talking about, when customers die, even, what happens and how do and we also have the issue of, okay, who's now going to take over this space, which is kind of our
right, of
worry.
course.
But we also need to be so concerned about how to just, if they're disposing of it, because sometimes they want to use your dumpster. On
Right,
occasion, I have allowed people to use the dumpster, and I'll just call and find out what it's going to cost to have a dump. And then I tell the customer, well, it's $128 to have them come out, and it's empty right now, but if you want to fill it, then we'll do that, and we'll just charge you for it. And I've done that just because, and I know some operators don't, but when people are trying to get rid of some stuff like that, especially that they can't do anything with or don't know what to do with, then yeah. And sometimes that's when we get the dumpster diving too. People are like, all that good stuff in there
right.
and it's just being thrown away. But because you're looking,
Yeah,
sometimes it's someone's everything that they have, their whole estate, right?
that's right. Yeah.
You could look
I mean, certainly there's some legal requirements to make sure you're dealing with the right people. But
yeah,
once those right people come forward, you know, they might again be on a really short timeline. They've flown in or they've
yes,
come into town and they're grieving, they're upset, and it's
right.
hard for them to go through, you know, the belongings of their loved one. And now, you know, if you can give them some tools to make that a little easier. I mean, who doesn't want to help someone when they're really having a bad time in life? And, you know,
Yes.
estate work is tough, you know,
Yeah.
and we see it all the time from either the client passing away or you know, the customer in self-storage, or even at the estate coming in as a new client, you know, now they're
Yes.
landing on your doorstep and they're phoning you and saying, I have to have this apartment cleared out in a week, or I have to have this house on the market. So,
Right.
you know, to be able to offer them a tool to make them help them navigate that, they're going to remember that for a long time and it's going
Yes.
to
That'd
make
be
their
way
life.
easier, wouldn't it?
And
Yeah.
it's just feel good work, right? You know,
Right.
you're helping someone at a really bad time. So
Yeah.
who wouldn't think kindly of the self-storage operator who helped them do that, help them work through that? So
Yeah. And the same would be for, getting good movers and trying to find, reliable people and reputable movers. And I know some owners they don't like doing that, but I think, you know what, it's such, we have a hand-in-hand type of business where we can work together with each other, and we should, and try to
Yes.
get, and the more loyal we are to them, to getting them customers, the more they'll think, uh-oh, that they're calling, we better get on those customers right away and help with their move.
Absolutely.
And they
But
I
it
think
doesn't
they,
always have to be one mover, right?
right. No, it could be
You might
multiple.
have, I
Yes.
used to advise the store, like the locations when we had them, I'd say to the staff, have 2 or 3 of your top 3. You
Yes.
see them coming and going, you know who's good.
Yes.
So, don't always just maybe force them to one, it's nice to have choices. And I even think that with the senior move manager business, if a self-storage operator decides they do want to align with the senior move management industry,
Hmm.
have 1, 2, 3, because it's a very personal relationship. And,
Right.
I may really connect with one family or a client, but maybe one of my competitors is better suited to them, and that's okay.
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
beauty of what we do, is that we're trying to just match them up with the right people. So movers, I don't know about down in the United States, but it's
It's
just
hard.
been rampant with scams up in
Oh, yes.
Canada. One of the top things to be actually searched on the Better Business Bureau is moving and
Movers.
movers.
Wow.
Of course, the good ones hopefully are there, but there's sure a lot
Mhm.
of bad ones. So,
That's why I was always particular. And I would say to customers, hey, did you like the movers and did everything go well? Because if they did, I won't mind. And I told my daughter the other day, I was like, go get their card. She goes, those people move a lot of people up here. I said, well, then get their
mhm.
card and use it and refer it to other people, because they're going to be loyal to you and know that, hey, this storage place, we're going to give them great service because they give us more business.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
some of the senior move managers that I've met have added moving component to their business. They have their own
Yeah.
trucks, they have their own people.
Oh, that's awesome.
Um, so they could also be a source of bringing people to your store if you align with them and chat with them. And
Mhm.
it doesn't work for every client, I'll be
All right.
honest. I
No.
mean, there's many clients that they're in the process of right sizing. That's the whole
Right.
idea, is trying to get reduced down to smaller homes. But man, there's so many times that I've pulled my self storage card out of my cart
Yeah.
and said, okay, here's a solution, right?
Right.
So
That's awesome. So those are all
yeah,
good things as far as, especially for relationships, right? Keeping those
it's all
also
about
the,
relationships.
yeah. And I
So
love it. One of my family members
go
is a
ahead.
realtor. So boy, she just is a plethora of people that she knows. And she just has a list and she'll just start giving it to you. And she sends it to me on my phone. She'll just say, okay, here it comes, here it comes. That's awesome.
Well, they know that this helps them sell houses. So
Yes.
realtors are wonderful sorts of, they
Hmm.
have a large network of people, from tradespeople that can come into a home, or, inspectors, appraisers, self-storage operators, hopefully, and even senior move management companies. So, and I refer to realtors, and
Yes.
that's a really good commission for them. When I have a client, I just had a client move from Edmonton to Toronto to be closer to children and grandkids. And they said, gee, we've lived in this house 40 years. We don't know any realtors. You know a good one?
Hmm.
Yeah, I do. A
Yes.
couple, 3. And I didn't limit it to one, but, my
Right.
girlfriends sold their house within a week. It was powerful.
Yes.
So now they're in
Yeah.
Toronto and they're so happy that their place is sold. And, through the winter months, they don't have to worry about it. So,
Yeah.
senior move managers are also, we hire a lot of different services through our business.
Yes.
And I mean, certainly self-storage is one that I plan on keeping to refer to. So,
Hmm.
and we also deal with lawyers and banks and
Right.
funeral homes, unfortunately, and a lot of different people. It's a business of transition. So
Right.
anytime you're touching somebody's, world, and be it financial or
Hmm.
physical, you need resources. So, and
And
we have
I,
relationships like yours and mine, long-term relationships that continue to grow and flourish. So, yeah.
it's kind of one of the things I've even talked about, being a salesperson on the phone in self-storage, is you want to make sure you're listening to what the customer's saying. Because if they tell you, my mom and dad, or my mom passed away and my dad, we're trying to, move my dad out of this place to another place. And that whole thing is just stop and say, I'm sorry to hear, about your loss, and just acknowledge what's going on in their life. Because these relationships, not only with your customers, but with your clients, they're going to hopefully be the type of people that are going to be caring for your customers, right? And the people that, and
Absolutely.
I've been in storage properties where even though I'm like a supervisor or owner of a storage property, I go over there and I see the same tenants for year after year after year. They bring the manager stuff. They're just so great. And I think it is a community, and we want to, and I know there's just no logic to people storing their stuff for like 20 or 30 years, but it happens. And
It
I
does.
think that I often tell the story of where this lady, every time in Lodi, California, she cut my hair, and she said, "Oh, every time you sit here and I put the drape on you," she said, "it reminds me that I have storage." And I just laughed a little bit because I guess I talk a lot about storage. And then she said, "No, my sisters, we all get together once a year and we say we're going to go through it. We're going to get it out of there." And she said, "You know what we do? We end up looking at some of the stuff. We open up and look at photographs. We sit there and then we end up, having somebody go gets a coffee and drinks for us. And then we're sitting there sobbing, about all this stuff." And she said, "It is just, we've had it like 15 years." I was like, wow. I said, that's just awesome, right? But she said, we do it. And literally, we go through it every year. And we're trying to think we're going to do something. But now we've just realized this is because now we have kids taking stuff in, they take stuff out and they put something in. And so she said, it's just amazing how storage has touched our lives, where I wouldn't even have said that would be true, but we know the managers there. We go to get boxes when we need boxes there. She said, we do have a relationship with those people too that work there. And I'm like, yes. And that's why I hire great people and nice people to run the properties, right?
We're in the people business.
Yeah.
Yes, it's about stuff, but we're in
Yeah.
the business of people
People.
at a stressful time most
Yeah.
often, right? So
Yes.
if we can be that, port in the storm and the people that help them through it, wow,
Right.
it's powerful. It's so
It
powerful.
really is.
Yeah. And these
Yeah,
are
there
just
we go.
some fun cartoons.
I love
Yeah,
that.
so you can get rid of my baby clothes anytime now, Mom.
That is true for my mom too.
And
She
then
had stuff that I was like, oh boy. Yeah. And this is my girlfriend that does toss, donate, keep.
yeah,
Look
that's
at the keep
exactly
pile
that. The
though.
keep pile is pretty big,
Yeah.
right? So yeah. So we
I,
try
I
to
s-
help it.
I look at some of the stuff I have even now that I've moved several times, and I'm thinking, wow, I really could get rid of some of this stuff. Karen, I have a lot of shoes, like a lot of shoes.
I
I don't
remember
know
you
what.
like nice shoes.
But plus being a speaker, I go out and do stuff in a lot, and I have a lot of clothes too, a lot of dresses, because I'm thinking, oh, like I just wore this at this thing, I just wore this at that thing. I'm like, gosh, so I do have a lot of those things. I think I need to get, and plus I have lots of different sizes too. So I have
Me too.
my them organized by size and by color and all kinds of things. I have a really big closet, so it's like a 10 by
Well, I
15.
remember you have beautiful clothes, so maybe a
10 by
consignment store
15.
might be in your world
Oh, thank
somewhere
you.
down the road.
Yes.
Yeah.
But again, it just
And,
what a wonderful business we're in, and how neat it is that we can help people in the way that we do, right?
absolutely. Yes.
So
Yes. Like I say, self-storage is always a little bit like Hotel California. You can
yes,
check out, but you never leave. I
I
used to
do
tell my
tell that
staff
too.
that
It's like
they would
we should have
come
that
and work for us,
claim
and
our
they
storage
retire,
properties.
they come back, and
Yeah,
we kept coming back.
yeah,
You got in your blood and you just couldn't give it up, right? So
yeah.
yeah, it's a fun business for sure.
It really is.
So
It's Karen, with my daughter working at this storage property, and it's at a store that a company that I started with also, which makes me very proud, right? That she's at the same store, and she's been there like since she was 16, and she's 19 now, so she's been there 3 years. And but she's like, Mom, some of the stuff things people store, or the weirdness, or the people that come visit their stuff, and it's just interesting to see her kind of growing up in that. And it is neat though, but she has a lot because of where we live. There are a lot of senior citizens, and so she helps them with their phone. They come in and talk to her, and then she's like, this one lady I guess was getting help with her phone because she had an Apple phone, and Alex knows how to do all of that, right? So then she just helps them away and doing what they do. But it's just I said, this is good. This is good for you, because they're going to remember, hey, that young girl at National knows how to help me do this, or they come just because they like you. That's why it's so
mhm.
important to hire nice, friendly people, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So you like what
So,
you're doing
no,
now, huh? That's kind of good too. So
I
there
do.
is life
Some
after
days are very
self-storage.
physical. Yeah, some days are very physical.
Oh,
So, my
kind of
dad
good
would
though,
ask me
right?
how it's going, and he's like, "Oh, geez, I'm tired, Dad. We got a big move, and I packed boxes for 6, 8 hours." He goes, "Well, you got a little out of shape. It won't hurt
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
You can
it's
move more.
true.
It's okay."
Yeah. Oh boy,
I'm
when I
like,
was
"Thanks."
moving my mom's stuff around, I was like, wow, I was exhausted by the end of the day. I was like, because it was
Yeah,
days of it. It was years
yeah.
and years of it.
But how
My mom,
rewarding when it's done. That's my
yes.
favorite part. I'm sure it felt the same when your mom got in
Oh
and
yeah.
settled, just to see them in that environment and they're safer and
Yeah.
they're going to be just great there. And it was, I don't know about again and where you are, but COVID was so isolating for the seniors, especially the
Yes.
ones that lived in their single family homes. And
Yep.
to know now that they are going to be around a community of people and, be able to go and have a meal with somebody or,
Mhm.
go and have, an activity they can enjoy that's not
Right.
requiring them to go out and navigate the world.
Yeah.
And, it's really rewarding to know that, life should be good. It shouldn't be,
Yes.
stuck in a big, you know, mausoleum of all the stuff that you've accumulated in your life just because you feel that you're the gatekeeper and have to keep it going.
Right.
That's not what life is about, right? So,
Yes. Well, and now,
yeah,
with storage people who are listening to this, I think the idea is go out and find these moving coordinators, these people who have companies that do this, and,
yeah,
invite them in, get them to know what you do and offer what help you can give them. I mean, because that seems to
yes,
me, a great way is to, bring them into the fold and ask to give the cards out or, have something where the customers can see that if they need help, you can get them help besides, because it's
absolutely.
not,
Yeah, so
it's not
NASSIM,
just a truck that people are looking for, right? I mean,
that's
more
right.
than
So
that.
NASSIM is an amazing resource. If anyone wants to go check the NASSIM website, there's a find the
Yes.
local NASSIM map that you can navigate.
Yeah,
The other
that's
place to
awesome.
check is the local professional organizer group. And
Yes.
so there's all sorts of professional organizers, but we do take special training and can be part of an association.
Yeah.
And so in US, it's NAPO. In Canada, it's POC, the Professional
Mhm.
Organizers of Canada. Also wonderful resources for finding who's in your local market to do this kind of work.
Yeah.
And absolutely, give them a call, invite them down. They may not know you
Mhm.
have different sizes. How many times did we
Right.
hear clients say, "Oh, I thought they were all big garages. I don't need one of
Mhm.
those," because that's what I
Right.
see from the road. But we
Mhm.
know we've got a huge variety of product available to offer them. So
Yes.
they may
And
not
the
know.
paper,
They
the
don't know.
packing, moving supplies, if they run out or whatever. Yeah, it's a great.
Yeah. Possibly
Well,
truck rentals, like there's so many things. So yeah.
yeah. Well, thank you so much, Karen. I not only have I enjoyed your friendship over the years, but I've really been in awe of what you've done in self-storage because you're very diligent and good at self-storage. Not a lot of people can always say that, especially when you're building a company and you want all the processes to be the same. And that's one of the things that I knew that your company did and did very well when you were at the helm there doing that. And I really always admired you and what you do. So thank you so
Oh,
much
thank you, my
for
friend.
doing
You know,
this with me today because I think it's a great topic for the people that listen to our YouTube stuff.
well, as you can tell, I'm
Sometimes,
really passionate about it. It's
oh
been fun
yes,
to learn something new to teach. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, believe
yeah.
it or not.
Well, thank you so much, Karen, and
Thank you,
happy
Carol. I
renting to
appreciate
all
it.
those people that are out there listening. And if you have and want to get a hold of Karen, you can reach her and ask her information. And you can see Carol at skillcheck.com to reach me. So thank you again for listening and happy renting.